Being a man seems a little intimidating, so I'm going to start off by being an 11-year-old boy. The only way to fix all the man damage I've done to myself is to time travel all the way back to the moment where I made my first big mistake, not becoming a Boy Scout. If I had learned to tie a square knot, pitch a tent, and be constantly prepared, I'd have made lifelong friends who would have cajoled me into joining Little League, fraternities, and the boards of multinational conglomerates. Even if it's too late for all that, I hope to learn how to live without being dependent on modern comforts by spending a weekend as a Boy Scout. For years, people have told me I have nice skin, and I didn't know what they meant. Eventually, I figured out that I have nice skin in the same way that vampires have nice skin. I've never been outside. Growing up, I'd spend months without ever seeing the sun, going from my room, where I never opened my black Levolor blinds, to the car in the garage, to either school or the mall. Inside was for humans, outside for animals. Sleeping outdoors for fun seemed like mocking our ancestors. But I'm probably missing an understanding of freedom and self-reliance, and access to some instinctual part of me that I'll probably need for all my other tasks. This is my chance to start fixing that. If I can't, at 38 years old, earn my first Boy Scout badge this weekend, I'll have no chance on my other quests. My camping weekend at Firestone Scout Reservation outside Los Angeles will be under the supervision of Rick Pierce, the scout leader of Troop 773. I had no idea that being a scout leader is one of those badass jobs, like professional wrestler, rapper, porn star, and pope, where you get to pick out an action hero name for yourself, like Junkyard Dog, Ghostface Killer, Ben Dover, or Pope Hilarious. I'm excited to be under the tutelage of someone who would make such an excellent choice for scout leader nom de guerre. Then I find out that Rick Pierce's real name is Rick Pierce. My parents doomed me from birth. I wish I'd known about this before I agreed to name our son Laszlo. When we talk about the upcoming trip, Rick Pierce tells me to bring a tent and a sleeping bag. Since I don't want to fail at my first task as a Boy Scout, I tell Rick Pierce I will totally bring a tent and a sleeping bag. I, of course, don't own a tent or a sleeping bag. Worse yet, I am unsure whether it's socially acceptable to ask to borrow a friend's sleeping bag. I mean, you're really in that thing. Is it like borrowing someone's underwear, or more like borrowing a blanket? And even if it's only like borrowing a blanket, is it okay to ask a friend to borrow his blanket? Luckily, I do not have to deal with these delicate social issues, because, of course, not one of my friends owns a tent or a sleeping bag. So I call Rick Pierce and nervously ask Rick Pierce if Rick Pierce has an extra tent and sleeping bag. Of course Rick Pierce does, and of course Rick Pierce doesn't feel weird about sharing them. He sends me an email telling me that for our initial meeting at the campsite, for which he uses military time, I should pack a sack dinner to eat with the group. So, at 1700, I leave the house and pick up a braised short rib sandwich on my way. About 40 minutes into the drive, and 2 hours before I normally eat dinner, I panic about being trapped in the wilderness without food, and eat a few bites of one of the 3 power bars I bought, pacing myself through my reserves. This just makes me more anxious about being hungry, so I eat half the short rib sandwich. And even though I'm already late, I stop at an In-N-Out burger and eat a double cheeseburger and a vanilla shake. I consider buying a second burger and salting it so I can store it outdoors. What I'm really afraid of, more than death from starvation, are the Boy Scouts themselves. This may partly be my mom's fault. I think the Boy Scouts are a fascist organization, my mom says when I ask her why I wasn't allowed to join. It's exactly what she said when I was a kid. I don't like the regimentation. I don't like the rigidity. I don't like it any more than I like the army. I don't think it fosters creativity. That's right. My mom approves only of activities that foster creativity. I am lucky I can add. My mom is a family therapist who went back to school when I was a kid, at the height of the 1970s feminist movement. My mom's like a liberal suburban zealot. She does not miss a trend. She spent the 1980s jogging, the 1990s in a book club, the 2000s in a monthly poker group, and now does a lot of yoga. So while I was not joining the Boy Scouts, she spent a year not shaving her legs or underarms, and met in a monthly consciousness-raising group with other women in our neighborhood. She also founded a charitable organization called Women Helping Women, which, in the initial brainstorming group, I'm sure they considered calling "Fuck you, man." My mom's resistance to the Boy Scouts was fine with me when I was a kid, since none of the Boy Scouts activities involved reading or watching television. Instead, Boy Scouts are tiny little survivalists, the kind who carry knives and smash the glasses of the asthmatic.